Okay, guys, let's cheer for Soren.
Chad, go ahead. Let me know what you're thinking. If you expect Soren or Zap to come away with this one, we are going to see.
Guys, louder, louder.
Oh man.
Low levels of the water found.
All right. Well, someone already obviously has the home crowd advantage, right?
Sandra, what's going on? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, Soren definitely playing on his home turf and probably getting a nice little boost off of that. But chat, what do you think? Do you think Soren's going to come away with it, or do you think Zap's going to come away with it? Obviously, we're a little bit split here, but I am curious about your opinions. Soren actually choosing to just claim 3 iron tiles immediately as he's found it scientific. He's bought up the aluminum he needs, so that's not going to be an issue no matter where that price goes from here on out, and he'll be able to hit level 2 very quickly. But that did mean that Zap was able to secure this nice medium aluminum tile. Looks to be the best on the map. Not too much of an advantage, but certainly a small one in favor of him at this stage of the game. Zap going ahead and founding in this nice field of carbon. He has a medium carbon tile and a low carbon tile secured. That's going to be sufficient production for now, with the ability to easily move into a 3rd tile if he thinks he needs it later in the game. Soren just going to secure 2 little aluminum tiles here. And what's he going to do with that last claim? Hasn't actually decided yet. Oh, looks like we've got one going down on water. Nanotech already at this stage of the game. One of the less valuable patents in 1v1 in my opinion. The game, once again, very short. So there's not a lot of transitioning to be done. A lot less scrapping of buildings. Still enough to make it a good patent, but not as crucial as it might be in a longer game involving 6 players. Alright, 14,000 for Nanotech. Gonna go over to Soren. Understandable, as a scientific player, sometimes it can actually be hugely beneficial to change over your tiles from farms to reactors, maybe from steel mills to iron mines. You have fewer tiles, and so you need to make sure that you're always getting as much as you can out of them. So I think I can understand paying even that much for Nanotech at this stage of the game, especially because, frankly, it's all in debt. And we saw how much of an issue that was for him last game. Zap looks like playing very safe and secure, securing his carbon, securing his aluminum, securing a high silicon tile, securing just some solid wind power, and he has already purchased up quite a lot of glass that he's going to be able to use to go through upgrades, selling off a bit, maybe trying to push for a new claim with that. But I think... No, he's just rushing to level 3 as fast as he can. I think Soren actually acquiring that 4,000 claim. And so Zap's just going to instead push for that level 3 as fast as he can.
Who's going for that water? That is Zap?
That's going to be Zap taking the high water. Not a big surprise. Soren has decent water next to his base. Obviously doesn't need those water pumps.
Well, it's good, because that is going to keep him safe from pirates.
Yeah, Soren very well protected from pirates this game. Hasn't become a factor yet, but certainly could later on, and we saw that was a major problem for him in Game 1. So that's very, very nice positioning for a scientific colony. Now, the big thing is glass might become very valuable this game. No robotic player, so a lot of glass consumption going on.
And you can see the glass out to the way, northwest. Oh, you have some northeast and north. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we've got a lot of silicon on the map, so glass production not going to necessarily be too much of an issue. But on top of all these factors, there was also an oxygen surplus, making glass far more viable, because that's just even less money you have to actually put into it. So I'm a bit concerned about Soren's ability to produce that extremely valuable resources.
He's going to it right now.
Yep. He's going to head those glass furnaces on up, and they're both moving into glass at about the same time, both of them also identifying kind of the thing that we spotted. This idea that, man, glass is a nice resource. I would love to be making some of that. But
now Soren is sitting on one more claim. I wonder what he has in store.
Zap getting hit by an underground nuke on his water. That's very interesting. Less effective on a high tile than on a medium tile, but certainly still having the production of that tile in water, and water's quite expensive already.
I think Soren is pushing him to waste his claims on specific things.
Yeah, Soren really likes to make those plays with underground nukes if he can pull it off, but I'm a little bit concerned about that one in particular. Might have been better to kind of wait and see where else he could hit his opponent. That would be effective. Soren seems a bit nervous about this claim. He does have 33,000 debt. Zap sitting on almost none. So while this claim is very valuable to Soren, he can't push it as high as Zap can.
No. Well, 18 is not bad. I mean, it's not
18's
too
acceptable.
expensive. Yeah, it's
Exactly. 18 is definitely kind of an acceptable level to let a new claim go for if you have to. So that's very, very reasonable. I am concerned about these reactors at this point. Now, Soren does have nanotech. He can get out of them very easily. He does have glass production. He'll be able to get the glass necessary to maybe shift them into farms if he needs to. But the fact is, there was an oxygen surplus early this game. He moved into the fuel production very early in the game where he's consuming almost none, and Zap isn't consuming very much either. I don't think that was a particularly well thought out play. It felt like a very kind of build-ordery play. Like, man, I know reactors are usually good. Maybe I should just build some reactors and not a reaction to the actual market forces that are happening in this game. And I'm kind of concerned about it. Power surge from Soren, just going to go right on to Zap's glass production. Very reasonable, both of them in that production. And it's quite valuable, quite lucrative right now. So Soren just wanting to shut him out of it.
Well, right now he upgraded. Once Zap goes fast like this, means he's securing his win, and that scares me.
Now, that's a very strong play from Soren. Soren did identify the issues with fuel, and actually he got lucky. He didn't even see this shortage occurring, but he made the move into food anyway. Then there's a food short. He's going to be set up for that. Zap most certainly is not, is going to need to secure some more water in order to get into it because of the earlier underground nuke in particular. And he might be struggling getting into this very valuable resource right now and be stuck on something a little less lucrative like glass. So we've seen some actually very strong play from Soren despite the possible misstep of the early reactors.
Soren losing a lot of money on power.
He absolutely needs to get into some power before his debt absolutely kills him. That needs to be a concern in this
solar
game.
panel flying north. There we go.
Zap actually still auto-selling his power for now, which surprises me a bit. It's a bit less of a Zap play in a lot of ways. He loves, from what I've seen, to stop selling power if he's identified that his opponent doesn't have any, and drive that price up like crazy to get a nice, easy buyout when his opponent has absolute like 100,000 debt and no resources, so his stock just plummets to a couple of dollars.
I'm not very happy about that stock price advantage. This is becoming scary.
Well, it is a little scary for Soren that his debt is so high, that his stock price is so low. But he does have a couple of nice advantages. One of them is certainly that Zap is relying very heavily on this glass production. He has 5 tiles committed to it, but silicon costs $53. Oxygen's still pretty low, but those possibly aren't going to be making as much money as he would want them to be making, especially as glass furnaces. And on top of that, Soren actually has a shipment of 180 glass coming in right now if he gets it, and he can tank this glass price. These pirates are absolutely massive at this stage of the game because this glass is all coming in. Soren feeling comfortable enough to go ahead and take them. That's going to hurt his stock price a lot. Already at 91,000 debt, that's going to jump up well above 100,000 when the day ticks over and he accumulates interest. So he has to make these pirates work for him in some way and not simply be taking them away from Zap. There are a couple of potentially very good locations. Aluminum, very expensive. Water, very expensive. These pirates don't have to be a waste as long as Soren can find a good spot for them. My concern is pirates can be very difficult to place around buildings and around cliffs, so he may not be able to steal away this aluminum and may be stuck with something like silicon or water. He did decide on the silicon, interestingly enough, placing them immediately. I don't know if that was completely thought out before it happened. I think placing them on water could have been a bit more effective unless we see an underground nuke on this medium water tile very soon.
What happened in the past minute? I'm sorry, I went to check on my Sebastian.
We had pirates come up, and Soren got them for $24,000 and then used them. Yep, he needed to. He absolutely had to at that stage of the game. 180 glass was...
his glass? Okay.
Yeah, his glass. He needed to protect his glass. It was coming in right at that moment. 180 glass, potentially. And those were very important pirates to get down. He placed them on the silicon, a valuable resource, but maybe not the most valuable he could have gotten. An EMP from Zap actually going to freeze his own aluminum production, which is interesting. Just trying to, once again, this is a very, very Zap play. forcing Soren into a ridiculous amount of debt to lower his stock price and make the buy easy. Zap has also gone for double hacker array. He's trying to execute a food surplus and a glass surplus right now, just trying to take all of Soren's money away because his stock price is so high. Soren actually needs a ridiculous number of resources to finish out this game, and Zap's just trying to make sure they aren't going to be worth anything. Both players at level 5, constant EMPs coming down right now. Zap really wants to be able to finish this game
Zero debt and
just on power.
Just on power. He's probably going to just go ahead for the kill.
Yep. Soren has a food shortage coming in. He has a very large supply of food stored up, but the surplus is going to hit first. Surplus is so much easier to send out. Yep.
I need to see what they're doing.
Go get the medium. Check it out.
If there's move on it. Yay!
Wow, I don't think Soren actually spotted that surplus coming in, maybe hoping for his shortage to be able to make up for things, but he's been sitting on hundreds and hundreds of food as it dropped from $10 down to $60 and just completely wasted all of his production for so long. Now, there is a very nice steel shortage coming in for Soren. He's automatically in steel production as a scientific player, can very easily take advantage of that. But his glass got knocked out, his food got knocked out, he didn't react well to it. And on top of that, Zap is shorting aluminum and surplusing steel with these two hacker arrays. Aluminum's at $82. Soren doesn't have any aluminum coming in right now, just sitting on a nice healthy stockpile of 0. So Zap's going to try and use this to try and finish out the game. Now, I don't know if he can pull it off.
No, he can't pull it off because he's losing a lot of money. His stock price is plummeting, and Zap has the money, and he's manipulating the market.
Well, that's what I'm saying is Zap, I mean, the thing is, Soren has 8 of his own stock purchased up, right? It's going to cost Zap a solid $120,000 right now to buy Soren, but that number is probably just going to keep going down for the remainder of this game because Soren's debt has gotten completely out of control. Zap
he was
with
losing
a very
about
nice
$400.
Yeah.
$400 on power.
Very nice hack coming in on aluminum. I don't think Soren saw it coming. Zap just using the double hacker array very effectively and appropriately in this 1v1 scenario might be able to finish up the game.
Well, on the upside, Soren's bracket is going to stay intact.
Well, that is a fair point. If Zap can finish this out from here, then at least Soren's predictions will be accurate. Well, 87, 89. The hack, I don't know if it's going to quite do it yet. Oh, Zap actually going ahead and selling off. As he makes the sell, the resource percentage goes down. He can't quite get it done. Here comes the steel surplus. Soren, please sell in response to this one. We'll see how quickly he notices it. Well, nothing yet. Just going for this fuel short and hoping he can use the game, or finish up the game with it. Now, I will say, Soren did pay down a huge amount of debt and has driven his stock price up tremendously. So that, combined with all of the stock that he owns in himself, is pushing that number that Zap needs to reach up very high. Possibly a very good decision in this game. Now, I am concerned he's only on 1 hacker array against Zap's 2. Zap seems to be making the better moves with them, with very strategic surpluses and shorts. On top of that, Zap is actually moving into an off-world market, which I almost never have to check the prices of in a 1v1.
Yes.
And there's an extremely lucrative resource off-world. Fuel. Fuel's going to go for $600 almost off-world, so that's going to be an absolutely fantastic send. And we're seeing a very interesting 1v1 to finish out this series.
This is interesting. Each one of them has 2 shares in the other. And Zap just went ahead and bought all of his stock. Almost all. There's 1 more left.
Zap, I think, is feeling like he has a bit better infrastructure than Soren does. And he has a right to think that at this point, I believe. With this off-world coming up, with the double hacker array established, things of that nature, he's looking to be in a very strong position and has realized that kind of all of the on-world prices are starting to come down, not likely to come back up with all of these surpluses going on. So he's gotten himself to the off-world he's going to need in order to push for the win this game.
As you see, Soren's stock price is going to go a little bit lower because he just purchased 16,000 of claim. And I think that Zap let him do that too.
Yeah. 16,000. It might be worth it at this point in the game, but I'm not sure. He would basically want to be using that for an off-world, but he had other places he could put it if he needed to. On top of that, Soren not making moves very quickly, considering he has nanotech, a potentially very valuable resource this game. Could be getting rid of some of his steel production to move into iron if this surplus hadn't come in. Could be clearing out a lot of electrolysis to push into something like an off-world market of his own by reclaiming all of that steel. He seems to be moving very, very sluggishly through all of these resources, and I think it's causing him some problems. On top of that, carbon still saying at a nice 150. Zap has access to a lot of it if he chooses to use it, and Soren really does not, only getting 1.5 carbon a second right now, basically just enough to power his electronics factories. Also, Soren's hacker array sitting there not doing anything. That's completely wasted tile at the moment. Zap at least still using one of his, even if the other lies dormant. Well, here comes the off-world sends. This is going to be a huge chunk of money for Zap each time he manages to get one of these off, and Goon Squad's certainly cheap enough to make that a viable strategy right now. 232,000 is going to be Zap's goal. He is about 2/3 of the way there with resources and cash on hand. He made the transition correctly when he couldn't quite finish the game off the double hacker array play, and Soren just didn't. He's late. He's lagging behind. Zap already has a send. Soren is still about 40 seconds away from constructing his off-world, and I think that's going to end the game at that point. It's just, there's not enough time for Soren to really come back.
True.
Well, I mean, let's see if there's anything he can do. Unfortunately, only one hack array from Zap. Not going too crazy with it. He knows how much easier it is to defend one off-world than two. And Soren's going to just keep trying to break down that door, and it's never going to happen. Zap's always going to be there to block him off, especially as a scavenger who has such frequent access to the black market. I would love to see these hacker arrays doing more. Zap's already on top of it, with a food shortage and a steel surplus coming in. The other thing that really concerns me about Soren's lack of off-worlds so quickly was that steel dropped down to about $20. Would have been very easy to make that transition happen, and it simply didn't. That was a bit of a concern. Instead, we see a patent lab coming down. I think Soren not realizing quite how dead he is, moving into these more long-term plays when the game's going to end just momentarily. Well, Zap's pushing ever closer to that 100%. He's likely just going to be patient, wait for the shortage, wait for the launch potentially, and he'll know that he'll have enough to go ahead and close out the game. Let's see, Soren, yeah, he's done pretty much all he can, just constantly paying down debt, trying to do everything that's available to him, but Zap, he's sitting on 1,300 food, and it's 350 apiece. I don't see this game going longer than about 20 more seconds.
Did he try to attack his off-world?
Oh, consistently. Every time it was up, there was dynamite headed there. But one off-world, very easy to protect when goons are only like 12, 20, 30,000.
He should have attacked his hacker array too.
There's the buy.
Oh, poor baby. Poo-poo.
Well, that's going to do it. Shouldn't be too many hard feelings about that loss. Zap, certainly one of the best players in the community right now. And he played a very strong game. There's no question about that, showing
just 1 second, Switch.
he knows what's going on.
Here, he's here.
Hey.
Hi, Soren. How you feeling?
Hey. All right.
Yeah.
You did good. I mean,
No, he did. Like, that was one of the best played games we've seen from any player so far this tournament. Like,
yeah, he was really on the ball with the hacker array. I just got outplayed with the hacker array.
Oh, the hacker array was exactly what did it. Like Zap understanding the power of surpluses, he went for a surplus to counter your obvious food shortage.
Yep.
Worked out fantastically, and there were just consistent things like that throughout the remainder of the game where Zap was making strong use of the hacker array and then got to that extremely valuable off-world transition, realizing that even though this is a 1v1, that was going to be a great building and making good use of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
nanotech.
I don't know if he... Well, yeah, it's funny. I thought that early auction was a mistake on my part, but boy, I sure ended up deleting a lot of buildings.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows? It's hard to say, but I also didn't know whether I did the right thing of buying up my own stock early on, but I felt like I felt like I didn't have any choice.
I think that was the only thing that saved you in the middle of that game. The fact that you had all of your stock and then you had gotten it very, very cheap and were able to pay down your debt to send your stock price very high. I think that was the only thing that even gave you a chance to transition into the late game.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, so I think I had a chance, but he simply was one step ahead of me with a hacker each time. There was a short near the end, near fuel or oxygen or something. I looked up and I just had not even noticed that he had fully transitioned into electrolysis, which was a sign of I was just having a hard time keeping up with what's going on.
Still
it was
there.
really that silicon that was a long way away from me. That was rough. Just in terms of if I wanted to repurpose it, it just took forever and shipping stuff.
Yeah.
I could have really used teleportation, but I could really maybe I should have gone for a patent lab. I could have got teleportation and carbon scrubbing, both of which would have been huge, because I was terrified of the carbon. What was going to happen to the carbon market if you shorted it? But I don't know.
Yeah, that might have been a slightly better play. I just noticed, I don't know, one thing I was a little concerned about was all that oxygen and fuel production at the beginning of the game, especially after you had gotten nanotech, when there was an oxygen surplus.
Well, I committed to the reactors, and then bang, oxygen surplus, and then
I know.
I really didn't know what to do. I couldn't afford to transition into farms.
Right.
So I tried to just buy a bunch of oxygen, but it wasn't enough. That was real rough. That definitely.
Yeah, I was also a little surprised. I don't think you ever underground nuked Zap's medium water tile.
Well, Zap is here with us.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Anyway, hi Zap.
Yeah, I'm here.
Play.
Hi.
Hello, Zap. That was a good win.
Yeah, it was good games.
Yeah, you played real well that
Very
third
well.
game. Great.
Yeah, I did everything I could.
Yeah, you literally did, pretty much.
Yeah, you had two hacker rays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy,
But that wasn't really planned, you know. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna short stuff, and so I want to be able to short and surplus at the same time.
Yep, that was really well played. I mean, I couldn't get around the fact that you saw where I was going and you were surplusing it, and you know, once I saw you shorting something, I tried to strip my production around, but I was just dumb. You know, it was too late. You know, you short aluminum, there's no way I'm gonna get aluminum production up in time.
Yeah, I did crazy money from that aluminum.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. You made like $100,000 off aluminum that game.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That was a really nice move because I was desperate for power at one point. So you noticed, of course, that I ripped up my aluminum mines to put power down.
Yeah, exactly.
Which at the time made sense, but it definitely left me hugely vulnerable to an aluminum short. So I think a lot of players wouldn't necessarily have caught that, but you know, I think that was another huge sort of turning point.
Yeah. That's the tricky part. If you give up some production, and the aluminum is it always gets expensive, even if it's late. If someone doesn't. If you doesn't mine it, it gets expensive because it rains.
Well, aluminum was cheap, so I bought up about 300 to make sure I had enough to upgrade, and then I deleted the mines. So like that part was okay. I mean, in a like an 8-player game, that would have been, I think, a totally valid move. But in a 2-player game, you're so vulnerable to someone taking advantage of that.
Yeah, totally.
I was also impressed by just being able to correctly identify when to go for an off-world that game. You know, I mean, that was a huge amount of money off just 3 launches with the off-world. And he managed to successfully make the transition, which is something we don't see a lot of in 1v1 at all.
Well, big advantage of being scavenger, right? Like I hit what with 3 dynamites, and so that's 180 seconds where your off-road market was protected. And I didn't know this until I got my off-road market up that fuel was 60 or 600 or whatever the off-world, and that's huge. Did you know that before you went off-world?
Yeah, of course. Like I never put down an off-world before checking the prices.
Yeah, so that totally made sense. And then I was like, well, he's just going to keep protecting it. There's nothing I'm really going to be able to do here. You know,
when I had the off-world, I knew like it's a super safe game for me.
Yeah, I think that off-world plant, like as early as it came, just right at the right time, really secured the entire game. As long as you played it out correctly, which of course you were going to, right?
I didn't necessarily see it coming because you didn't have any. You had no electronics production, and electronics was at least in the hundreds, right? So I guess.
Yeah, it was 150. Like I know it costed me like 16,000 to build it because I had all the coal and glass was like 20 or something.
Yep. Yeah. It just kind of surprised me, but definitely the right move at the right time. So
Yeah.
I feel like I did all right, but I feel like I am perhaps hitting the limits of what I can keep track of in terms of like
Yeah,
I know what I know what I should do, but I wasn't able to keep track of everything you were doing along the times with everything that I was doing.
Yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, Soren, you are
Practice.
a little sick right now. So
Well, I mean, also, just because he created the game, it doesn't mean he's going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he already said that today too.
Yeah.
Developers rarely are the best.
Yeah.
They like the game, but they don't become pro at it.
Yeah.
Zap, I have a question. Have you tried to play 1v1?
No, I never play.
Oh, okay.
No, I never play 1 versus 1.
Well, that makes me feel much better.
Well, neither of you did try.
But
Right.
like basically, I'm only in the tournament because it's for the fun.
Sure.
I don't need to win. Like I will try to win, of course, but it's not everything for me.
Yep. Well, I mean, I knew going in you're a strong player, and you did very well, and I'm glad that I was able to get one win out of there.
Yeah, Scavenger is crazy good when you expand fast and just get your production up. Like,
Yep.
you,
I
you, you,
love.
you get,
Well, I should say I clicked to found right where you found.
yeah,
I absolutely
I can
clicked,
imagine that.
and it was absolutely just one of those things where your colony showed up right as I clicked. So if you'd waited one more second, I would have been in that location.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I never hesitate. Like if I see what I like, an aluminum tile and some carbon, I just found ASAP.
that's something I have noticed about you is you are never reluctant in founding if you find something you can work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that
I don't know.
is really good.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know if you noticed in the first game when there was that one medium aluminum, I found it first, and I hesitated just a couple seconds to go for it, just to see if there was a high somewhere, and it ended up costing me because our claims got to that tile just about the exact same time, and I know if I had done 1 second earlier, I would have got it.
Yeah.
That was.
But do I need to like upload the games or?
I think it'd be nice to see your perspective, but I do have all of them
sure.
recorded. So if that's difficult for you, then don't worry about it.
No, it's not difficult. I will do it. It's fine.
Sounds good.
Well,
Cool.
Zach, I want to ask you something before we go. Just make sure you are in every single tournament I put up, please.
Yeah, of course. I will try to be like
You
every
keep it.
tournament.
You keep it kind of, Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard versus Qubit.
Well,
He's the one I've seen practicing 1 versus 1 like at least 100 games.
Yeah, Cubit's out for blood this tournament. Still has to get through Darth Caboose, but
Yes.
I think most people's money, unfortunately, would be on Cubit in that situation. So.
Well, Zap, just pray that Trump is always playing off-world, because whenever he's playing, Qubit is going ahead and playing an 8-player game.
That's true.
That's just, exactly what he shouldn't do if he wants to win the tournament. 8 players, very different than 1v1.
Yeah, it is.
So, thank God for Trump.
I think Soren, like a big thing that you could adjust is like getting power a little bit earlier, because you always get power really late.
Yeah.
That, like gets you into crazy amounts of depths.
Yeah, I mean, I got in real trouble that game. I should have, and huge mistake by me. I mean, as soon as that oxygen shortage came up, I should have just dropped the reactors and put power down probably. It's one of those. Power's that funny thing. I think at the time power was $30 or $40, so it wasn't crucial, but power just keeps going up.
Well, and especially with those reactors
always
plus steel mills, that is
exactly.
altogether 1.8 power a second just on those 6 buildings.
Yeah.
That's
As scientific, you don't think about turning stuff off. It's just
I don't do that either, but I always get power in my games. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 8-player or 1 player, like, power is always expensive. People just don't build power, it's so funny.
Oh, in 8-player games, I think power is absolutely one of the best early plays because everyone's trying to cheat power, and inevitably 3 or 4 minutes in, everyone's like, "Oh crap, power's
true.
$100."
I mean, I'll always be able to point to that one 8-man game that I won in like 10 minutes on HQ level 2, literally because I was the only one to build power that early, and then I just shut everyone else's power as it came online. It can be just that important sometimes.
Yeah, I've done that so many games.
Exactly.
So easily.
Yeah, and what I really love seeing is like an 8-player game where there's a ton of geotherms, which means either everyone's going to assume it is geotherms so they don't build power, or they're going to claim geotherms, but then they're not going to be able to afford to build them. So instead, just throw down 3 solar panels right away, and you'll make a ton of money.
And then have everyone target you at the black market.
And,
all the mutinies. All the mutinies. Look, I'm just speaking from experience here.
It can happen, but I often feel like if there's a power thing, people look for geotherms first. But depends on your
I think people overrate the geotherms extremely much because I mean, when you put power in a triangle, it's way more effective.
Oh yeah,
certainly.
I mean, sure, the claims is kind of good per unit, but it's so expensive and stuff.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, good luck to you, Zap, going forward.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was some good games tonight, though. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it was nice.
I definitely enjoyed the match, and thanks for staying up so late. It must be super late over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I will probably play like 2 more hours or something.
Nice.
But catch you later.
Sounds good.